Today, I want to tell you about my past life regression story because I think it's pretty unique because it actually transformed my health, which I think is pretty amazing. So, let me set the scene for you. It was a long time ago. It was about 20 years ago. I was in my early 20s. I had chronic fatigue, I had a lot of hormonal issues, I was just not feeling well. The doctors pretty much said, well, we don't know what to do for you. And that put me into the realm of looking at alternative medicine, natural medicine, trying all these things. I think at the time I was using some herbs, I was using some homeopathics. I think I'd even started a gluten-free diet at the time as well. It was all helping to a degree, but I still wasn't feeling amazing. And now at the time, I was actually studying natural medicine. I was studying to become a naturopath. And I remember being on the campus and seeing this sign for this healer, this energy healer who also did acupuncture, and something just kind of connected me to that. At the time it was a poster, and when they had like the little strips with the phone number on it, you just rip them off. So I ripped it off. I'm like, this is where I need to go next. So I remember calling this person and making an appointment. And soon after I was there. I think her name was Chanel. Let's call her Chanel. And Chanel, as I said, she was an energy healer. She was an acupuncturist. She was very connected. She did Reiki. She did lots of different therapies. And we got the session going. And actually, I think I had a few sessions with her. I had maybe 2 sessions where we kind of did some acupuncture and Reiki and a few things. And then it was maybe about the 3rd session I came in and she said, how are you going? And I'm like, all right. And then she said, I think we need to do a past life regression and see what's going on. And that totally caught me by surprise. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And I'd never thought about doing a past life regression before. I didn't know how it worked, if I could do it, what was involved, but I was totally intrigued. So I said, yeah, let's do it. Because my faith was in her. As I said, I felt drawn to her, details how she works, and I'd heard great stories about her. So I'm like, I trust you. Let's see what happens. So what happened was, this is how the regression occurred. I laid back on the massage table and I closed my eyes. Chanel guided me into a deeply meditative state, and I really just remember feeling really relaxed. And she was guiding me throughout this whole journey, and I was able to get into such a relaxed state that the prompts that she gave me, my subconscious mind just kind of took it to the next level, took me where I needed to be. So I'm on the table, relaxed, meditating, and she asked me to connect with my akashic records. And I think for a moment, my conscious mind said, oh, I don't know how to do that. But then that quickly disappeared. And then I was there. I'm like, okay, I'm with all these records. And she guided me to connect with the lifetime where I had abused my power the most. And then again, I think my conscious mind jumped in, woke up for a little bit and said, oh, this is weird. What are we doing here? What's that going to do? But again, quickly that disappeared. And I think my higher self was involved with connecting me with the akashic records and what happened next. I think that's all I can, I can't tell you for sure. So yeah, I asked to connect the lifetime where I had abused my power the most. And in a split second, I was there. I looked down. This is obviously with my eyes closed on the table, but I felt like I could see this in my mind's eye. Now, I'm, just as a side note, I don't usually meditate and see like deep otherworldly things. Like if I'm guided to, I can, but I'm not clairvoyant or anything like that. I'm very claircognizant, like information just drops in and I'm like, oh, that's a knowledge and awareness I didn't have, thank you. But seeing visualizations is not something that is something I usually do, at least before this point. So I'm in the lifetime where I abused my power the most. I look down and I see my feet. I had no shoes on. I was barefoot, and I was standing in the red dirt. We asked where I was and what my name was. I think, it was a while ago, I think my name was Sen, S-E-N. I was 24 years old. It was in the United States of America, and it was about the late 1800s, so a long time ago. And all this information, Chanel asked me, where are you, what times, all these kind of things, and it just kind of came to me, and I would be able to say it out loud while I'm laying on the table, and she wrote it down so she could recall the information back for me later on. I still have that piece of paper somewhere. So I look down and I have bare feet standing in the red dirt, and I realized I was homeless. I was on the street. I had nowhere to live. I didn't really own anything. I was feeling very powerless, very, very sad, very depressed, just lost, basically. And very quickly after we got those basic details, I was guided to fast forward to the last day of my life in that experience, in that lifetime, because that is when I had abused, in her words, my power the most. So just like that, I was in the last day of that life. And I was on one of the streets somewhere, and I was just living my life, not doing much. And I distinctly remember this man who walked by me, and he verbally abused me, saying, "Why are you here? You're taking up space. You're such a waste of whatever on this earth." Like really going to town on making me feel bad for being homeless, for not contributing to society. I just remember feeling how sad and how powerless I felt when I was, let's say, reliving that experience. Now, as a side note, I cannot confirm this. My husband in this lifetime, he's amazing. He's a very gentle, peaceful man. But part of me feels like it was him who was on the street abusing me verbally. It was only verbally. I've said that to him before, and he's like, "No, I wouldn't do that." So he's like, definite no. But I don't know. There's part of me that says that's something about that's familiar. I may have been learning a lesson from that. I don't know. That's just food for thought over there. Anyway, so after this man had left, he was out of my awareness. He'd finished saying his verbal abusive words. I was in such a state of despair that I was done. I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. This life is not serving me. So then it was like, cut again. I was standing on the edge of a cliff, a very high cliff. Again, I could just see my feet. If I look down, noise outside. I could just see my feet standing on the edge of the cliff, and I knew what was about to happen next. Deeply depressed, deeply in despair, feeling like there was no hope. I felt myself jump off the cliff. I felt myself falling from the top of that cliff a long way down. And then before I hit the bottom, bam, I was back lying on that massage table. Not awake, but I was kind of back into, I don't know if it was an akashic record world, but I was out of the 1800s, back as myself, but I think I was communicating with my higher self. So I was in conversation with my higher self. This was what happened next. And what I was told, well, what I was aware of is that I had abused my power the most because I chose to end my life. Now, I don't want to get into a debate about suicide. It's obviously something that happens in that life. I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I support and have love for everyone. But what I was told, I'd abused my power the most by choosing to end my life, by not taking responsibility for the challenges, the issues that I had. But more than just that, I was told that I had made some vows when I ended that life. And I think it's the vows that were more important in this experience necessarily as compared to the experience itself. I think the experience was the backstory for what I learned, what I vowed. So what I was told from my higher self is that I vowed from that point on to always be in control in this lifetime. It's like, I know what it's like to not have control. Therefore, I'm just going to be in situations where I can choose what happens and when it happens, and that's going to keep me safe. It's going to keep me healthy. It's going to keep me fed. It's going to keep the roof over my head. Now, in this life, I like a bit of control. I have a Capricorn moon and some strong Taurus placements, which, if you know much about astrology, does tell you that you kind of like to have things a certain way. So I do know that I came into this life with awareness, with control stuff to work on. But what I was told in that moment on the table is that this is where your control issues come from. There is a control aspect that is affecting your health right now. You came into this meditative past life regression experience to learn more about why you're not recovering, why your health is still suffering. And we've learned about this past life regression. We've learned that you came into this life because of that past life with the desire to control. And we know that that control is not serving you now, and it is time for you to learn to drop that need to hold on tight. Now, it was around about this point that I woke up from, that I was guided back into this reality from that experience, from the meditation and from the regression. I was in the room with Chanel, debriefing, pretty much going, wow, that was amazing. I had no idea that my brain, that my psyche could do that. And I pretty much wrapped up the session and went home feeling pretty pleased that something unusual had happened and feeling like I'd learnt something, even though I wasn't really sure how that would change how I felt. So now I want to fast forward to the next day in my world, in this life. And it was about 24 hours later. Actually, it was almost exactly, precisely 24 hours after this experience. What happened was my physical body suddenly started to shake, and it felt like I was in so much pain. It felt like my insides had been shattered. Now, I didn't realize it at the time, but in retrospect, it kind of felt like, not to the same degree, like you jumped off something and fallen down. Ooh, my light, the light just went out as I did that, so I apologize if I'm darker now. Yes, it was like my body had hit the ground, kind of like the past life regression. And this went on for hours. I was in pain, I was shaking, I was unsure and uncertain of exactly what happened. And I didn't really think about the regression at that time. That's because I was too much in the moment of dealing with the pain that I was in and this weird, uncomfortable experience that I was having. Now, I don't remember exactly how long it was, but kind of soon after that experience, maybe a few days or so, I started to feel better. My body changed. I felt lighter. My energy levels slowly started to change. I just felt different. And what I realize now, or what I believe happened, is that unlocking that experience in the past life regression and having that awareness that I had made the vow of control, it unlocked something in my body. It unlocked a memory in my cells, and I felt the unlocking when I had the pain and the shaking in my physical cells. But I believe that was a kind of release that happened. It was the awareness, it was the memory that was stored in my body, in my cells, releasing. I had become aware of the resistance that was in me through my controlling mindset and through I was trying to be aware of every detail in my life and where that origin story for me came from. And that awareness shifted my cellular structure. And from that point on, my health continued to improve. My energy continued to get better, and to this day, chronic fatigue syndrome is a thing of the past. Thank goodness, because it ruled my life. I was housebound for way too long. That was a horrible time in my life. But it was distinctly the past life regression leading to the awareness of the vows that I've made that started the healing journey. that's actually kind of gone on my entire life, because I think my life has been a healing journey of awarenesses, as well as knowing my husband. That's unlocked even deeper memories as well, but that's a whole nother story. If you saw his video about his NDE experience, you might have more understanding of what I mean. But these days, I am a qualified naturopath and I am a human design analyst. And that experience of a past life regression helped me become aware of the deep knowing and wisdom that our health is connected not just to our body, but to the energetics of our system, and that being as authentic as we possibly can this lifetime, being the real us, which is what human design is all about, connecting you with, the more we can do that this lifetime, if there's going to be another lifetime for you, then the less crap that you'll have to deal with. Maybe it's fewer health problems, maybe it's better relationships. I just strongly feel and sense and believe, and from my experiences, have this knowingness that all we have to do this lifetime is be ourselves, be true to ourselves. That includes not trying to control every single detail, because when you control, it's the opposite of trust. And the more we trust who we are, the more we trust what's unfolding in our world, even if it's just trusting that I'm learning something from this experience that I don't particularly like, then the freer our cellular structure is, and the better well-being we can have. Now that kind of in a nutshell is my past life experience and how it changed my body and my life. I really do genuinely hope that you got something interesting or useful from this experience. And if you've had a past life regression experience, if you want to share anything about it below, especially if it's impacted your body, I would love to hear about it, because I haven't heard many people who have had quite the extreme reaction that I did. But I would love to connect with anyone who's had a similar experience. But yeah, even if you just found this interesting, I'd appreciate your thumbs up, and I appreciate you